Good evening to you televiewers. Welcome to the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinox Television. In our top stories, the population of Buea, chief town of the southwest region of the country, say they are not certain their children will return to school come September the 2nd, 2019 due to the growing insecurity hitting that part of the southwest region of the country. They say governments must enhance dialogue and equally ensure ceasefire in the two English-speaking regions of the country before they are able to send their children to school. And equally, the Aquaya Hospital in the Manu division of the southwest region of the country has been relocated as a section of it has been burned during a crossfire between pro-independence fighters and the military. And equally, a school that is situated close to the National Gendarmerie Brigade is equally, fears are high that it might not equally host pupils and students during September 2019 due to the fighting that persists in that part of the southwest region of the country. And we equally tell you in this edition of the newscast how the Pichini group in charge with the construction of the Olembe Stadium in Yaoundé has promised it will begin paying salaries accumulated for the workers who have laid down their tools 6 months ago. They're promising to start the payment that will be on August 23rd, 2019. Details and more in this edition of the Primetime News. Good evening, once more welcome. This is the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinox Television, where we are broadcasting live in the nation's economic capital, Douala. And we begin this newscast with a human interest story. 2 persons have lost their lives. That is in a road accident that occurred last night at the Guinness Mobile neighborhood in the Douala 4 municipality. The bike rider crashed onto a brewery truck that was poorly stationed along the road. Details with Hermine Luga.
Engulfed in general public disorder remarks, sequences denoted in the transport sector have become alarming. A perfect example is the incident recorded last night within the Douala 5 Kento area at a site locally called Mobile Guinness. The observant crowd here is simply shocked at the swift accident which occurred in less than no time. On the stretch of road lies 2 victims of the accident, Lokam Siwe and Wanjo Richard, who are both the bike rider and passenger who, according to our witness account, crashed beneath a stationed truck with no signal belonging to the brewery company in the same vicinity.
La fête s'est déroulée tout à coup quand je viens de déposer un client. Subitement j'entends un bruit, boum! C'est comme si c'était un coup de feu qu'on vient de tirer. Je me rends compte que c'est 2 individus qui sont installés là au sol, tout doit au sol là, en bas du camion, tout doit garer là, devant nous.
It is clear, incidents of this kind, even with poor driving habits by drivers and riders in the economic metropolis, could be avoided. But the question today is how possible would such a target be attained, noting that it is recurrent to identify stationed trucks and lorries transporting containers without signal plates along road stretches in Douala. A question yet begging for answers. It is anywhere important to note that accidents caused by heavy-duty trucks in recent years in Cameroon has totaled a percentage rate of 17.3%, a situation which could be reduced if proper measures are taken by the Ministry of Transport.
Now talk about the persistent insecurity rocking the two English-speaking regions of the country, precisely in Buea, chief town of the southwestern region. Few weeks to back to school, the population say they are uncertain schools will resume in the locality as gun battle continues between separatist fighters and the military, and persons continuously being killed, abducted, and equally tortured as well as arrested and detained arbitrarily. They fear that during school resumption, their children might be placed on the altar of sacrifice. And our Southwest Regional Correspondent Derek Jato went sampling some opinions from some parents, and this is what they told him.
It is Friday, August 16, 2019 in Buea. The southwest capital city is alive and we are at Great Supermarket. It is also the market day of this largest village of Buea. 2 weeks to school resumption. The market is not reflective.
So you never sell books? No, I never sell books. Our people, I don't know how to buy.
Preparations are not visible, pushing us to ask why.
I'm of EQUINOXE TV. How are you preparing to come back to school?
I not be prepared answer you.
So you not be prepared?
But children think I don't be prepared. I not be lie you. I not be prepared. I not prepare for today for our school. I never hear other people go on, go no go. So if the school go, I go prepare for them.
Why school not go?
I don't know because you don't know what say go, no go. So I don't know.
The government say me una send people there.
Go send them. The phone and say, well, after what we get them, we can get security. Our problem that what we get good security.
These are parents who by now are supposed to be sick with the back to school fever. To others, the reason is the Anglophone crisis.
Yeah, let's solve the problem. They will then go back to school. They should remove the leaders, those leaders.
Adding his voice on the back to school call is Barrister Abdubala Felix.
Education, schooling is a very wonderful thing. I think all of us are where we are today because of education. We understand that the struggle continues. We understand that there's a crisis, but there's a need for kids to go back to school. Because even if the crisis ends today, whatever happens, we still need these kids to be educated. And without an education, they will not be able to fend for themselves. They will be a burden to the society. Some of them will have to pick guns and become armed robbers in the future. So I have followed the debate on social media. They still don't believe that kids should go back to school. Unfortunately, all of them have an education. Most of them, have an education, and their kids are going to school.
Whatsoever be the level of preparedness, the government on effective school resumption comes September 2nd, 2019 for the 2019-2020 academic year.
The Senior Divisional Officer for the Buea Division of the South or Northwest region of the country has expressed disappointment in Jakiri this Friday, August 16, over the fact that very few persons came out of their homes to listen to his back-to-school campaign message. While in the conference hall of the Divisional Officer for Jakiri Subdivision, the Senior Divisional Officer, Simon Emil Moore, was faced by just 14 people who were keen to his back-to-school speech. Reports say parents in attendance told the Senior Divisional Officer that government must do everything possible for peace to return barely 2 weeks to September the 2nd, 2019 for effective 2019-2020 academic year. And a recent gun battle between separatist fighters and equally the military in Akwaya, that's in the Manu division of the southwest region of the country, has resulted in the relocation of the Akwaya Hospital, the health facility, which is about 300 meters from the Gendarmerie Brigades, and equally equidistant from the Akwaya Government High School, has been relocated to the Akwaya Native Village, according to a post set up today by Barrister Aya Paula Bine. He indicates that some rooms have been hired in 3 separate non-permanent structures in a triangle measuring 60, 100, and 110 meters by cow's flight. He questions how safe the Akwaya Government High School shall be during school resumption, and which is just located at least 600 meters away from the Gendarmerie Brigade. If the Akwaya Hospital at 300 meters is unsafe, the recent gun battle resulted in the partial burning of the hospital, with no party claiming responsibility. We still continue talking back to school barely 2 weeks to the start of the 2019-2020 academic year. Government administrative authorities in Cameroon's two English-speaking regions intensify campaigns for resumption of classes in the conflict-hit northwest and southwest regions. The national and international communities, or despite calls by the national and international communities for dialogue to be initiated, the national and international communities had called for a ceasefire as well in order to create a favorable environment for school resumption. But none of these has been applied, and the armed conflicts worsening as the school year approaches. Unscrupulous killings continue, houses razed, young girls raped, people abducted, torture, and other right abuses stamped on the Anglophone population. This week alone, notably Thursday, 4 civilians were killed in Zongo, that's a village in Banga Bakundu, in the Mehmet division of the southwest region. Houses were burnt down and 2 persons roasted therein. Yesterday, still, a man is said to have been shot dead in Bamenda of unclear circumstances. These and several other unreported cases have been registered as the armed conflicts deteriorates, with effects of the Prime Minister's peace tour yet to be witnessed or felt. Members of the National Executive Committee of the Social Democratic Front Party recently paid or set Prime Minister Joseph John Gute deceived, or better still, lies to the aggrieved Anglophones, while the armed conflicts persist with its disastrous consequences. The government rather intensifies back-to-school campaigns, giving school materials to children who have been out of school for 3 years now. Unfortunately, 2 armed separatist groups institute 2 separate lockdowns, that is September the 2nd to the 6th and another September 9th to the 13th. And now we take you to the central region of the country, where the Minister of Communication, Rene Emmanuel Sadi, has instructed the population, the company in charge with the electricity production and distribution company, that's ENIO, to work efficiently to provide a sustainable power supply to the population of Yaoundé, especially those in the Funzi division. He was reacting, that was during the press conference in Yaoundé, while thanking the affected population for their patience, understanding, and good faith showcased ever since the fire incidents occurred on the electricity grids in Yaoundé, that's in the Melen locality. More in the upcoming report. Being a matter of fact, the Minister of Communication, Rene Emmanuel Sadi, confirmed the power outage in the central region brought untold social and economic consequences on the entire Funzi division.
Par ailleurs, des mesures particulières ont été prises pour alimenter en énergie électrique prioritairement.
He also assured that prompt measures were taken to supply electricity in some neighborhoods and strategic infrastructures like hospitals since August the 7th, when a fire incident occurred on the technical facilities of the electrical substation in the Melen locality.
Pour autant, les dispositions transitoires mises en place.
The Mincom boss as well said the magnitude of the repairs by ENIO and Sonatrol called for the supply of new equipment and additional time span necessary for appropriate works to be done by engineers on the field.
Et agglomération de la ville de Yaoundé dans l'optique d'assurer un service de soutien.
ENIO, the electricity production and distribution company, has also been instructed to provide a general calendar of the rationing of the power supply to Yaoundé residents.
Le plan de distribution est d'ores et déjà disponible et mis en circulation.
Going for over a week without electricity, the communication boss praised the affected Yaoundé city dwellers for their patience, understanding, and the civic sense showcased since darkness covered Yaoundé as a result of the fire incidents on the power grid.
Le gouvernement tient par ma voix à saluer la patience, la compréhension et le sens civique dont ont fait montre les habitants de la capitale depuis le début de cette situation préoccupante.
Reassurances were made by the Minister of Communication that
à assurer les populations
efforts to re-establish electricity supply will not take long.
à cette situation.
Both ministers, the Minister of Communication and the Minister of Water and Energy Resources, who presided over the press conference, pledged such a fault will never reoccur in the capital city. And now we talk something else. The absence of the senior divisional officers in the Upper Plateau and the manual divisions of the West region of the country has made a compilation of documents by young citizens very complicated as concourse or upcoming entrance examinations are yet to be tackled by these young Cameroonians, and now they need administrative authorities like the senior divisional officers to attend or sign these documents for them. More with Fomi Armstrong Sander.
Having certain official documents certified in the Upper Plateau and the manual divisions of the West region of Cameroon has been a nightmare for over 8 months now. The post of senior divisional officer in both administrative units have been vacant for over the period. Felix Belonogu of the Upper Plateau Division died on February 13, 2019 and has not been replaced, while Ebole Confiance of the Manual Division was appointed to premature on January 17, 2019 without being replaced. Being the only authorities to certify some key documents, the people of these administrative units are paying a heavy price for their absences.
Seul préfet de signer sur les originaux des diplômes des enfants.
It is given only to the senior divisional officer to certify the originals of certain documents. We have been without a senior divisional officer for 6 months, and competitive entrance examinations are launched here and there. Children in the manual, for example, who cannot move to other parts of the West region of Cameroon for the exercise are condemned to miss the opportunities. This is how bad the situation is.
Va tout simplement se trouver, n'est-ce pas, coincé.
Parents avaient ces moyens financiers à désirer pour un premier temps.
My father wanted me to sit an entrance examination with my first degree certificate. I succeeded to certify all my documents, but needed an attestation for the presentation of originals of my documents, which could only be done by the senior divisional officer, not his assistant. We sent documents over a week ago to be certified in Bafoussam, and the papers are still there. Adding to this is the problem of getting a medical certificate delivered in the town of Chang.
I came here to compile documents for my younger brother who just passed the advanced level, but I've faced certain difficulties when it comes to making his medical certificate, because I went to the Chang District Hospital and they told me that the forms are finished. So I asked the woman if I should come tomorrow or day after tomorrow. She told me that even the day after tomorrow will not be possible. So now I am really stranded and I don't know what to do. I'm thinking of going to Bafus.
How long will they wait, and how can these be explained at a time when the demand of the population is growing and the stockpile of documents increasing?
And up next is Talking Point. And we are having as a guest Abdul Karim Ali. He is a civil society actor and equally a Muslim scholar of the Bible. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Innocent.
You were certainly coming in from Bamenda, chieftain of the Northwest region hit by the Anglophone crisis. Tell us, how has peace returned?
Right, I begin by praising God and I ask Him to send His blessings upon His prophets and messengers and to southern Cameroonians that are suffering in the bushes, in the forests, in refugee camps, and to yourself, Mr. Innocent.
Thank you.
I think you know the answer to the question you're asking me. It's no news anymore. There is an active genocide on the people and meted suffering on the people of I wouldn't say Northwest, as you say. I'll say the northern zone. I'm dismissing all these terminologies that has actually imposed the suffering on ourselves. And I advise some of you to learn how to start dismissing those terminologies also. Those are the terminologies used in the enslavement, and we should not promote it.
And with the situation in the northwest, let's just say, as you mentioned it, but I will call it the northwest region because I still believe it's still part of Cameroon. Is it favorable for back to school being preached by the governments of the Republic of Cameroon?
Yeah, no, this thing has been said times over by many people. What baffles me is that the government of La République du Cameroon wants to teach Southern Cameroonians education. No, the Basel mission saw all the other parts in the Cameroons before going to CPC, to Bali, to establish CPC. The Catholics, they saw all the other parts before going to Boy to establish SASA. Southern Cameroons is the epitome of education in Africa. Come on. We have more than half a century bona fide scholarship that we have achieved. Nobody should come and pretend that they want to teach us the value of education. What happened to our education? We begged for university. We begged for the GCE board. Are these people who don't want education begging for these things? No. The thing is, we know that there is war that was declared by the president of La République du Cameroon on the people of Southern Cameroons. Now, they have not had elections and other political activities for the purpose of insecurity. Simply because they don't have security, they have not had all these things. And the thing, education, which is the most complicated business on earth. Education is the most complicated business. It cannot function without all organs of a society working on full axis. Is that what you want to allow to take place in this particular atmosphere? The question, it begs the question, which means there's an agenda, there's a desperation to prove to somebody, which of course now is the international community, that we have things under control. Nobody is going to risk their children under this circumstance. Till this minute, there is terrorism in the Southern Cameroons. We are not free. We are enslaved. And you want... So now, parents are supposed to pay school fees. Thousands of them are in the bushes. Thousands of them in the prison. Who pays for these fees?
We have the government that has been supporting by giving school needs like books, equally bags and other things. There are organizations that have equally promised to assist poor parents financially.
Oh, yeah, so that's actually a fallacy called ad hominem. They're dealing with the informants, not the information. The information here is that Southern Cameroonians are determined upon something. So you don't come to try to pretend to solve a problem that they don't have. Southern Cameroonians have not begged for books from anyone. Listen to me, our mothers and fathers struggled and sent us to school, including you, Innocent. They sold pop-off, they sell all sort of meager things to send us to school. After that, we don't have jobs. They sell their plots, their family homes to send us abroad. Are these people who don't understand the value of education? No. So it's not about buying books. What about taking care of the child for close to 9 months in the academic year? Would the government be doing that? No. What they are supposed to do is, I've said it here and I'm repeating it, there is no running away. They have to sit on the table and talk to Southern Cameroonians about certain resolutions that they defied by the help of Britain and France. There is no way out of this. You cannot sugarcoat it. You cannot metal code it. You cannot silver code it. There's only one direct way. It's a surgery. You know, it's like cancer. When it has gotten to a level, I don't know the biological term, there's one solution. Cut it out.
And now you're talking about the impossibility, if I get you right. And now the population of the northwest and southwest regions are calling for a ceasefire and equally dialogue. But the government is doing nothing. There are national and international calls, but the government is still silent. And now, for how long will these children continue staying in the bushes, back home, not educated?
Well, you know, education could be formal or informal. It could be anything. It doesn't necessarily mean sitting in a classroom. But what is all the education on earth with death? In other words, what is an educated PhD professor doing in the grave soon after they acquire the certificates or in the process of doing so? So it's not feasible. You talked about I won't use the word impossible. I say not plausible. It's implausible. It's not a plausible option. And you said the government has been told to dialogue. They don't want. Why? They are running away from simple debates. And the debate is clear and it's going to hold. The problem is that, you know, poverty, for example, the pauperization that has been imposed on the people of Southern Cameroon since April 1961 is not an accident. It's just like slavery, apartheid, colonization, or territorial thievery, or stealing of a land, like in the case of Southern Cameroon. It's not by accident. It is man-made. And what people must do is that they must understand that people can still remove all these ills. And Southern Cameroonians, in my opinion, appear to have understood that determination can do a lot of things and it can overcome. So I think these people are determined to have the counterparts, like Republic of Cameroon, come on a table and talk this matter. There is no way out. Unfortunately, we have our brothers who today now jump all over the place with federalism in their mouth, as though they could say the same things in 2017. Do not forget that Southern Cameroonians have fought, bled, they have died, some are in exile, in the prison, in the bushes, so that federalists can start jumping like grasshoppers in December, preaching a kind of sermon that provides enablement for the more maiming, more torture, and more killing of Southern Cameroonians. You see, what we are supposed to do is sit down and talk this issue. Exactly the information and the message coming from the international community. You cannot run away from the problem. The problem is already not on the surface, it is floating in the air. You must sit and address it. So I would say it is not impossible, but it's not plausible.
You write it is a long-term option, something that will last long, that will enhance peace to be lasting in Cameroon. But we are just a few weeks to the start of classes of the 2019-2020 academic year, and yet many people still find it very difficult to believe if dialogue can take place within this short period of time, and equally enhancement of ceasefire for pupils and students to go back to school.
Yeah.
Is it possible for us to start talking about dialogue and ceasefire now, 2 weeks to school resumption?
No, that can happen even in 24 hours. It can happen in 30 minutes. We don't have long things to talk about. What is going to take long is the negotiations of many things that have happened in the past 57 years. But talking about what Southern Cameroonians are up to is 30 minutes. It's a simple question. Were we due for independence as per Resolution 1608? Yes. Was Resolution 1514 did Resolution 1514 provide that the instruments of governance be given back to the people that were colonized in the first place? Yes. Was that done? No. That is 3 minute debate. That one will be finished in 3 minutes. So it can happen in 24 hours. You know, I saw on TV students, pupils, and parents saying that they will not send their children to school. Why? Because they have been radicalized. To be radicalized is grasping information and everything by their roots. So they have come to the realization that they cannot go to school in war. This is simple. Why is there war? I'm sure everybody knows why there is war. It was declared on a people who stood up to march with peace plans. Today we have people taking millions of taxpayers' money in jeeps, holding some peace plans outside the window. Look at all those campaigning for. Why do you campaign for school return in the first place? Because you have something in your cupboard. Look at those campaigning. They go in bulletproof vests in armored cars. So after they leave, how do the children go to school? So what are they afraid of? Or who are they afraid of? So I think, yes, school could return, and this thing could be ironed out even in 24 hours, in my opinion. Maximum 72 hours, we can trash this conversation if La Republique is willing to sit on the table. But I think they are not willing.
And, well, we have separatist fighters too, who have initiated 2 separate lockdowns of the Anglophone regions. We have the first, that is to begin, if I can quote it, that's the 2nd of September to the 6th, that's during school resumption, and equally the 2nd from the 9th to the 13th of September. That means, if you follow the communique, they are saying schools cannot resume while the armed conflict continues, or while the area is still insecure. How do you embrace this?
Yeah, well, using the word embrace, I would say, how will I analyze that? I saw those communiques online, and we know that the restoration forces have locked down that territory, I think 3 times, and they have imposed ghost town for 3 years altogether, and government officials obey those ghost towns and the lockdowns. So I think it is something that nobody should take for granted, and we must be alert, we must stay at alarm. I wouldn't go out on those days.
Okay. Thank you so much, Abdul Karim Ali, for coming.
Thanks for having me, and God bless you.
I recall that was Abdul Karim Ali. He is a civil society actor and equally the Muslim scholar for the Bible. And that ends this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinox Television. Thanks so much for watching. I wish you a wonderful evening and a splendid weekend.